Hello, welcome to the Draft Talk podcast. We're back talking all things NFL draft, and we are continuing with our top five series. We've done defensive line, offensive line, the running backs, and now it's time for the wide receivers. The guys have looked through all the tape, looked at the measurables, everything you need to know, and they're going to run us through our top five receivers. Their guys are Owen and Stu. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, Brian. Really excited to look at wide receivers as a whole. It's a
He's such
group
a
that's
liar. He's
becoming.
such a liar.
No, I'm not lying. Don't lie. I'm not saying that the players are exciting. I said I'm excited to look at wide receiver. That's not lying. That's getting the viewers to be enthralled and excited about what we're going to talk about. Um, yeah, because I think in general, wide receiver has become a position that's become a bit more sexy. People are picking wide receivers high. There's a lot, every year it's a buzz about what quarterback we're going to get, then what wide receiver we're going to get. So it has become a bit more buzzy as time's gone on. And there's been a lot of good receivers come into the league recently. So let's see how this year's lot stack up against that.
Yeah, there's a load of names that we will talk about. It. The value in this class is insane. There's loads of names, especially on day two. It's exceptional. But we're going to be talking about guys who are potentially going round one today.
Indeed, I've always thought wide receivers are sexy, but yes, let's crack on. Owen, I'll let you start. Who's your number five wide receiver, please?
Yeah, interesting class because of the depth you're going to get on day two. But I do wonder how chalk this top five could be. Up five for me is Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. A slot-centric offensive weapon is how I graded him, with emphasis on the yards after catch ability, whether that's inside or out. A quirky, explosive slot weapon with elite foot speed and foot quickness, strong contact balance, and that upside as a yards after catch receiver because of the instincts he brings you with the ball in hand. But he gives you more than that because of his size and the physicality you would expect from that kind of slot explosive receiver that you would kind of space only receiver that you would expect. Dynamic with the ball in his hand, rare balance, really good change of direction from the slot in terms of it being an offensive weapon, and the focus here is on creativity. Plays bigger than the traditional slot guy, so he does give you some outside versatility, but I think he's best when he's weaponized through schemed touches, motion, spacing, because of that yak ability. So he is creative with the ball in hand, but I do think you're going to have to get creative with kind of the routes that you give him and the system that you put him in terms of being able to scheme him touches up. But yeah, a true yak king, maintains balance through glancing blows, direct contact, rarely goes down on the first hit, just keeps the ball alive, keeps plays alive. Twitchy in his athleticism, explosive motor, rare foot quickness, natural feel in space with his angles, with his routes, and is really comfortable securing the ball when defenders are all over him fighting through traffic. And bigger and sturdier than the typical slot option you would think of when I'm telling you this scouting report. Explosive once he's committed, and yet his alignment flexibility, he will be predominantly a slot, but will give you some outside, so Z usage. Weaknesses for him, because he's really a really strong yak threat. His route tree and his breadth of routes that he's run isn't particularly deep. He's more isolated in the routes that he's run because of the verticality of the way he wins, and his release packages that when he's playing against press corners, he's best when he's given that kind of free release rather than pressed. And his efficiency is going to be tied to how he is used. But I think if you can get him in the right system with a creative play caller, who has a strong number one already that you can pair him with, I think you're going to get a really strong high volume receiver in Casey Concepcion.
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out for me was over half of his 2025 receiving yards came after the catch. I think that's his main calling card. He's got really good vision, and he likes to make those tacklers miss in those confined areas. So I think over the middle of the field, I think is where he's going to be at his best. In that first kind of 10 to 15 yards of the route sim is where he gets really good separation, and that kind of twitch and burst kind of jumps out at you when you're watching him. Um, I think you mentioned about press corners. I think he's willing to scrap with them, and I think he finishes with a bit more. He doesn't tend to want to dance out of bounds as some wide receivers do. He will finish through contact, so there is a bit of scrappiness there from him. He in that zone coverage, he's got a really natural feel for it, and he opens his hips up to the quarterback quite quickly. So he's really reliable, and if you've got a rhythm thrower as well. Drop rate, he has dropped a lot of passes.
7 drops in 2025.
19 in 186 catches. It is a reasonable percentage. So that's something to just be watchful. And you mentioned about his kind of lack of variety in his route trees, which I think is something that's going to be something he's going to have to work on. But I think if you're a fantasy football fan, you're going to like Casey Concepcion because he's going to get lots of receptions and he's going to get lots of yards after a catch and whatever your format might be. But I think he's more than that. I think that he is a really solid option who I think might sneak in at the back end of round 1. I also have him at number 5.
Yeah, I do wonder how chalk is going to be because I do think that the top of this class in terms of names is fairly obvious. But 5 with Casey Concepcion and whether that's number 6, 7, 8, they're all going to go fairly early in the second round, if not. So it is quite close between Concepcion at 5 and then the players we'll have at 6, 7, 8, which we'll mention if they're not brought up in the top 5s. So I don't think it's outlandish, but he was number 5, obviously, for both of us.
Indeed. All right, I'll go to you, Stu. Who's your number 4?
Yeah, for me, that's Denzel Boston, the Washington wide receiver. He is built like a true X. He's at 6'4" with really long arms, and he really knows how to use that frame well. And he walls off corners and he plucks the ball away out from beside his body. He gets up to speed quite quickly, although he's not got the true burner speed. He's more than adequate in that department. I really like him on a deep ball. He turns ahead quickly and he tracks it really well. And he adjusts really well to those back shoulder catches. Red zone threat. He knows how to use those fades and boxes out on slants, in the red zone. Really strong grip, even when the defensive backs are trying to get hold of it there, he can still come down with that ball really well. He puts his body between the defender and where he wants to go really well, protecting that space. For a guy who's tall and lanky, he's quite, after the catch, he runs quite angrily. He's got a bit of power there, and he breaks tackles and he'll fight for every yard. And he's a good blocker. He does a lot of dirty work on the outside that maybe doesn't go unnoticed. It's not the most spectacular thing, but for teams, they will really love that. He is sometimes just a bit too straight line, and press corners will work against that. He's not a burner, and at the kind of break point, the separation can close on him a little bit. He doesn't get elite separation. He struggled a bit more against the better corner, when he's playing the bigger college programs, and that's maybe just the team was struggling as a whole, but something I noticed. And he gets through his yards more through contact rather than making people miss. But a legit threat, red zone weapon, someone who you can throw the ball up to, and he will play quite happily on the outside.
Yeah, 2 for 2 so far. I also have Denzel Boston at number 4. 6'4", 210 pounds. I came away really, really impressed with Denzel Boston. Even though I have him at 4, I'm almost inclined to say I was maybe the most impressed with him out of any of the running backs that I watched. That I think he is almost closer to
a wide
3
receiver, not a
than
running back.
Yeah, sorry, because we're recording on the same night. I
I'll let you off.
Certainly wouldn't be using him as a running back, although he is versatile. But yeah, he's closer to 3 than he is to 5 here. In terms of, you've got the big 3, people know who they are, but I'm certainly considering putting Denzel Boston on the outside, looking in on that group, because I did come away really impressed because he's a smooth timing driven receiver who's got really advanced route nuance, corrective anticipation. His ability to adjust to the ball, where there were so many throws that were like 5 or 6 yards short of where his break was, and he still managed to make a play on the ball because of that anticipation and the awareness that he had in his routes to know. And his speed is fluid, consistent, reliable, creates space because of the nuance in his route running, and I'd say adjusts to imperfect throws is how I framed it. You could say bad throws, but we'll call them imperfect. Separates with tempo, and he's just a salesman in his routes that he can fake defenders out. He's not one of those. He's not a burner. He doesn't have sudden explosiveness, but he'll sell you a trip. And if you're a corner, you're going on it while he breaks into his route. High level body control as well at 6'4", that he can high point the football, and his anticipation at the catch point to anticipate over his shoulder was exceptional. I think he has functional ability after the catch, and just enough twitch, not loads, but just enough shows up in his transitions to be a creative enough. What else can I say? Comfort contorting his body despite his lanky build, awareness for spacing, his IQ, and his ability to anticipate zone and find those soft spaces. And I think his change of direction was more than good enough. Yeah, the weaknesses you were spot on in terms of what I've got here: lack of sudden explosiveness, a limited creativity after the catch. He's kind of got a ceiling in terms of what he can do after the catch, although I like it, and it is enough for that type of receiver that you're getting. His play strength isn't necessarily dominant at the catch point, but it doesn't need to be because of his catch radius at that size, and yet he can be disrupted by press coverage at times, especially when aligned out wide, because he does take quite a few snaps from the slot, so you can move him about, and his production is extremely efficient. You took what he did over the last 2 years. In 2024, 834 yards from 63 receptions. In 2025, 881 yards from 62 receptions. So, fairly identical in terms of what he can do. He's just fairly consistent. You know what you're going to get from him, and yeah, I'm more than happy. I think with a lot of these guys, you want to pair them with someone else, and I think I'm fairly confident in saying I think about that with all the guys, the wide receiver in this class. There's a load of wide receiver twos. So yeah, I'm confident of what you can get from Denzel Boston. I'm more than happy to use a top 20 pick on him. I was really impressed.
Good stuff. There we go. So saying 5, saying 4. How about our number 3s? Oh, and who's your number 3?
Yeah, let's see. Jordyn Tyson is at 3 for me from Arizona State. A big slot receiver, primarily, who has that alignment, flexibility, and separation craft. He's long, he's lanky at 6'2", 200 pounds. Versatile in how he can create separation, but he tends to win with his stride efficiency, his discipline through his routes. And just a smidgen of yak creativity to be a complementary receiver is how I saw Jordyn Tyson. You can line him up across the formation due to his height, length, and his movement skills, but I think I would predominantly want him to line up from the slot. He got 31.2% career target rate, though, so he was catching everything in that offense. And his separation comes from his ability to pace his routes, because he's not sudden, he's not twitchy, but his pacing is really strong through his routes, and his stride efficiency is really strong, and I think he's reliable of what you can do with him in structure rather than a after the catch creator. He executes his routes with intent and purpose, his awareness with spacing, he hits his landmarks, knows where he needs to be, and stays on schedule through the plays. Consistency is present through windows where he's able to catch the ball, and he uses that lanky frame to extend beyond his body for some really strong catch point catches, and there's a strong feel for leverage and spacing against both man and zone coverage, where he's able to adjust his stem and his depths. His weaknesses, he is limited in his creativity with the ball in hand. I didn't think his athleticism was particularly sudden in short areas, and he can be disrupted by physical press corners, where his release package I didn't particularly find sudden or violent in any way, and that shows up in his play strength, that he's competitive but not powerful, and he can be knocked off balance. Biggest concern with him, which I'm sure we can touch on here before Stu comes in, is there are major injury concerns with Jordyn Tyson. Is he currently healthy is a question mark. Never mind in terms of him missing time. So he's missed time in every season that he's played college football, and he missed 2023 altogether. So it does really worry me what you're going to get with him. You've got a top 15 talent, but that medical history is going to be the key evaluation and the key variable to his projection. That's why he sits at number 3 for me. But the other two I do think are clear of him in terms of their abilities as a prospect, and teams are going to have to weigh up that upside versus the availability risk, because players who are injured in college very often stay injured in the NFL.
Yeah, Jordyn Tyson, as Owen's covered him pretty well. He's kind of gone quite in depth on him. He's a player who gets open well. He does find separation. He's got good hands. He is a good run blocker as well. He will put his self out there, which not all top end receivers want to do. He sells that vertical break really well before kind of breaking underneath when he's operating out of the slot. When the games are kind of tight, he does score a lot of fourth quarter touchdowns, so he does want the ball just kind of when that game gets really tight. But medical flags, massive. 4 seasons of college football, he's missed one completely and he's missed time in another 3. It's not great, and it will put some teams off.
I've got the numbers here. I was fighting for them before, but so in 2022, when he was at Colorado, he only played in 8 games, then transferred and missed the entire 2023
season. Injured his knee in 2022.
Missed the playoff run in 2024, and then only played in 9 games this past season.
Yeah, I mean they're all kind of injuries that are different. He's injured his knee, he's had a collarbone injury, a hamstring injury, but the mounting up, and I think as well, he's not as physical as he could be with some corners. I think they're able to get their hands on him and disrupt him at the line. Drops, he's had a few drops. We did talk about he has got good hands, but is that through contact that he's had a few drops here and there?
He only had 1 drop this past season on 61
so it has picked up. He isn't lightning fast.
No.
He's not going to wow anybody at the combine if he decides to run, which I don't know if he will. He might wait till his pro day to run. Some of these players at that top end run somewhere they're more comfortable rather than running at the combine. I also have him at 3.
I think it's important to stress here that just how reliable and consistent he is when he is on the field, instead of just ending on a bad side there with his injuries. That I said before, 31.2% career target rate, that leads college football since 2023. So despite missing time, that to be that much of a focal point of your offense and to be trusted that much in terms of the connection you can create with your quarterback, clearly he's a very talented player and a player that is worthy of being taken in the top 15 of this class. Just we think the other two are better, and the red flags are there enough to put you off?
I think even without the injuries, would I still have him 3?
No, I would. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I would.
Probably, I would.
Yeah.
I don't think the injuries is the be all and end all of it. It's not he's injured, he would be one. What was the cornerback from Michigan who fell so much because he was injured, but he was clearly the best cornerback.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago, went to Arizona. Forgotten his name, but I wouldn't have that with Jordyn Tyson. I don't think he's just fallen because of medicals. I know some people had him as wide receiver 1 earlier on, but I still think the other two are better regardless.
Yeah. 3 for 3 here. Have we ever gone 5 for 5?
Will you ever go 5 for 5? Let's find out.
Come on, let's do it.
Let's go. All right, I'll go to you, Stu. Who's your number 2?
Oh, I don't want to be the person that ruins it. I'm going to tell by Owen's face.
I can't think of a time we've gone 5 for 5.
Brian's kept the list. Have we ever gone 5 for 5, Brian?
We'll find it out.
No.
We haven't. Oh, it's on.
No pressure.
Carnell Tate.
Oh,
if I knew.
We were so close.
We were so close. We've got 3. I'm taking it he's not your number 2 wide receiver then, is he?
No, I've Tate 1, Lemon 2.
Okay, yeah, we're the opposite way around. We're going to do it once. How many years is that now? We've still never done it. It'd be boring if we agreed all the time.
Yeah, it shows you're actually thinking about it, not just. Here's a list.
Yeah,
Let's talk about it.
yeah. Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State. Really like Carnell Tate. I do really like him. I think he is that kind of outside X receiver, 6'3", although slightly on the more slender side. He's only about 195 pounds, but high points the ball really, really well. Corners can be in a perfect position, and he still times it, leaps, extends his arm, and just can rip it away from defenders. He sets out up his routes really well. He sells the vertical, and then he can snap off a comeback and leaves the defender just grabbing the air. His ball tracking at full speed is really, really good to watch. He adjusts either shoulder without losing a step and is always just right at the catch point. Really nice hands, snatches everything away. He is so good against zone coverage. He always finds that soft spot. And he can drift when the quarterback scrambles. He just knows where to drift to find that soft spot. He comes back well to underthrowing balls. He doesn't let the DBs undercut him. He's not afraid of traffic, and big play as well. 5 touchdowns of 40-plus yards this year. When he gets a runway and can build up speed, he can really hurt you deep as well. His pure speed, I think he's not running past anyone. I think he's not as strong as he could be particularly against those stronger press corners, and they can knock him off his releases. Run blocking, not the thing that we always talk about wide receivers, but he does kind of wander a little bit when he's doing that. Missed a couple of games with calf strains, but nothing major injury-wise. I do really like him. I think he's going to be a really good player at the next level. I just like the other player better.
Yeah, I've got Carnell Tate at number 1. I thought he was the most pro-ready and refined prospect of this group. Polished, quarterback-friendly perimeter receiver, really advanced in his understanding as an anticipation, alignment leverage to create sharp tempos and with his routes, and has really strong, dependable hands, who profiles as a really early NFL starter in timing-based systems. No drops in 2025, so it's 51 receptions, no drops. He is a precision-based, execution-based receiver rather than overly explosive. He's reliable. He has elite body control at the catch point. And I also thought he was the most mature of the players that I watched in this receiver class in terms of his ability to manipulate space and manipulate leverage at all areas of the field. Despite that, he will be 21 years old his entire rookie season, so he is also one of the younger players compared to there. But his ability to vary his speed within his routes, to disrupt coverage timing, attacks defenders blindside in terms of his hips and widens his stems purposefully to create angles in zone coverage, so his nuance and understanding of where his landmarks need to be in terms of settles quickly into those soft spots to present clear windows. And within his breaks, his footwork at the top of routes was extremely clean. Is rounded in his breaks rather than flashy, but that allows him to maintain his balance and his control of speed throughout the rep. Natural hands catcher, who said no drops. Reliable, extends as an extended catch radius at 6'3". Minimal bobble when he catches the voice, so clean in terms of his grippy hands. And his mid-air adjustment when he's at the catch point in terms of his tracking ability and comfortable outside of his frame to create that height and to secure the ball, I thought was extremely impressive. Weaknesses, there wasn't a lot, to be honest. I don't think he's overly creative with the ball in his hand, and he's certainly not a vertical speedster, but his ability, I think, to be the most polished. I said before, I don't think there is a true wide receiver 1 in this class. He isn't in the same lane as you would have had a Jamar Chase or Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors or these guys where you think they are the guy. Carnell Tate isn't the guy, but he is an acceptable prospect who I would be comfortable taking in the top 10 in this draft class. In other draft class, I might not say and be so complimentary in that way, But I think if you compare him with someone, so you look at the Giants, if you can compare him with Malik Neighbors or wherever, even if that's Arizona, you pair him with Marvin Harrison, I think that's the type of role he will fill. But I have to say, I do think about that with all of them in this class. I don't think there is a true pure wide receiver one. I'm pairing all these guys with someone. I think we're looking at a bunch of wide receiver twos, and then it's just picking your favourite at this point. And for me, it was Carnell Tate. Something I should just mention before we end there is 68.8% contested catch win rate in 2025. That's catching, it's contested catch almost 70%. Is highly productive. So I just think that he's such a clean prospect. It was difficult for me not to put him at 1.
Good stuff. Which means we're 1 left. I'll let you go, Stu. He's your number 1. Tell us who we're waiting for.
Yeah, that's wide receiver Makai Lemon and the wide receiver from USC. There's not a lot of players in this draft that I said I love, but Makai Lemon is one of them. There's not many. I'm going to say that about as we go along. I think he's just such an intelligent player, who's got really good technique. He understands leverage at the line better than some NFL players do at the moment. Watch him work the corners out of position, how he forces them into position and then breaks off another direction. He's got, he's really technical at that. He's got really good hands. Quarterbacks trust him in traffic because of that. He's only 5'11", but when he has to jump ball, he is way better than 5'11" suggests, and he's able to rip it away from taller defenders. Once he gets rolling, he's really good with his cuts. He's able to stack corners and break away from them well. He finds soft spots in zone really well. He just shows up in the right windows. His footwork is really good, particularly, dragging his feet on the outside. His ball tracking is up there with the best in this class as well. He also blocks well, and he's got a bit of intent with it, particularly for a slot guy. We've seen these kind of crafty receivers do really well in the last couple of years, get large volumes from the teams, create a lot of yards, and I think he fits that mold. I think he's just so intelligent. He makes himself available, and he might not be the most spectacular player that you ever see in your life. He's not going to absolutely obliterate people with his speed. He's competitive but not dynamic after the catch. But I just think he's so intelligent. He's going to rack up huge amounts of yards and receptions because of that. And that was what sold it for me.
Yeah, I really like Makai Lemon as well. He's the type of receiver going in that you think, I really, really want to like you. This is the type of receiver that I normally go for. I came away every game I watched. I came away going, if you were only a little bit more explosive, if you had that little bit more suddenness, I would be all over you like a rash. That you are the player that I want to fall in love with. But every time I just wanted more from the speed, I wanted more from the acceleration, and so that's why I put him at 2. It wasn't close. I had Tate as the clear number 1.
Fair.
But I just wanted more from Lemon. But that doesn't take away from what he's able to do in terms of his accelerator. He turns what would be covered for a normal receiver into a late open window because of how he can stem his tempos through his routes and then bursts out of his breaks, especially in zone. If you can't continue playing zone against this guy because he will find space every single time. He has elite feel and he finds grass fast, settles with purpose within his routes and his stems, and then explodes after the catch, but isn't necessarily whether he's a slot option, but he's not going to be one of those explosive yak guys like we were speaking about with Casey Concepcion before. And I don't think he's particularly a bully ball X receiver, so you are going to be limited in terms of what you can do with him. But I think if you get him in the slot, then you'll certainly be able to create opportunities for him because he understands how to how to stem defenders, and he almost anticipates and is aware of what they were going to do before they do. Say he does that. He's not static within his routes as well. That he drifts with intent when needed to stay friendly for the quarterback, maintaining that separation. And as I said before, finds those soft spots early and accelerates once he's got the ball secured. Separation. Wins cleanly with his routes and his timing, his position, whether that's with his pivots and crosses, and creates throwing windows without needing that elite speed. But he is wide open on so many plays because of how cleanly and smoothly he gets through his breaks. I would have liked a little bit more juice, I will be completely honest. And I do think he's not necessarily as versatile as some others in this class. He's not that traditional X. He is going to be predominantly a slot option, but I don't think that means you have to use him in isolation. And his value certainly spikes when you're pairing with a coordinator who's going to move him around and park him in one-on-ones where he can just exploit space. There's a lot to like about Lemon. Over 1,156 receiving yards and 79 receptions. Only 2 drops on the season. Continuing to improve. A lot to like. If you get him in motion, get him in stacks, you're going to get a really good player in Makai Lemon. As I said before with Jordyn Tyson, I would happily take these guys in the top 15. I just wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not comparing them as players at all, but I can see him being in his rookie year like a Puka Nakua, just getting thrown a million balls. He's going to have so many receptions because of that ability to find himself open.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, you've touched on it, guys. Give us a few names that didn't quite make your top 5, but you're still going to be real big fans of.
Yeah, there's loads of them. The guy at 6 for me, who I did, I do think it is close, but Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana is a player that I really liked in terms of he's a 3-level offensive centerpiece in terms of what he can do. In 2025, he leads all 2026 NFL draft wide receivers with 31.3% forced missed tackle rate, despite his career average depth of target being over 12. So he is mightily impressive with his power and his athleticism to reach all 3 levels, and really rare in his post-catch efficiency. And you talk about, I said before that there isn't a guy I particularly think is a wide receiver 1 in this class. I think if there is going to be one, it'll be Omar Cooper Jr. But I just felt that the others were currently more advanced in their ability, because I don't think he's a pure burner in that sense, and he just have some technique issues. But in terms of being able to force missed tackles, Omar Cooper Jr. is special in that way.
We'd, as is previously done as well, I sent Brian a list of mine. We were so close at being close because he was my 6 as well. Do you know how close we were to having almost 6?
Who do you have at
equal?
7?
That would have been Chris Bell.
Yeah, I had him at 7.
No.
8.
Oh my God! Yeah, I'm going to be on an island on 8, so we're
right.
probably not. Who did you have?
Chris Brazzell.
Oh no, he was 9. I actually had Jeremy Bernard.
Okay.
From Alabama there.
10.
Okay, he was 8, so we were really close for wide receivers. Yeah. It was I just think he was just a really steady player. He just knows what he's doing. He's going to be a wide receiver 3 on some team that you're really going to like, and just know what you're getting with Jeremy Bernard. He's not flashy. He's not going to be burning away from anybody. He's not going to wow you with spectacular catches, but he's going to move the chains, and he's going to be a passing option for somebody on a depth chart.
Yeah, no, there's loads of this guy, even outside of the top 10, whether it's Malachi Fields, who you've seen Daniel Jeremiah put in a round 1 mock draft. Absolutely not there with him, because I don't feel like he's anywhere near the type of separator you need to be going in the first 2 rounds. He's more of a round 3 guy for me. But a guy who's after the Senior Bowl is moving up boards. You could go all the way down, even all the way to 18 and 19. Where there's got
Elijah Surratt, and there's who else is there? Some people like Skylar Bell. There's you could go on and on. There's a long list of really good receivers beyond that first group.
Yeah, two players we'll maybe touch on then is I want to mention Chris Bell, because he's going to fall down boards because of his injury, but he is a borderline round one guy if he hadn't suffered a season-ending injury. We'll see what that's like, but someone's going to get a discount on him, which is still worthy of a round 2 pick. And then I want to just mention Zachariah Branch, who I see a lot of people talking about. I don't know what you thought of him, Issue. I've got him down at wide receiver 19, I'll be honest. That he is explosive, he's a multi-phase playmaker, but he's a gadget guy. You can't take that on the first 2 days of the draft.
Yeah, I think he's a day 3 player, although on playing college football on my Xbox, he broke the all-time record for yards. And what was the other thing I had? I played the season as Georgia, and he smashed like every record because I just chucked the ball at him and he ran with it.
Yeah.
But in real life, I think he's a day 3 gadget guy for me.
Yeah, he's an elite kick returner. That's worth taking. But that transitions into his play. He plays every time the ball is in his hands, he turns into a kick returner, and the play just breaks down.
Oh yeah, he just goes, I'm just going to run as fast as I can with the ball in my hands and see where I go to.
So I think you're gonna have to create him space with jet sweeps and motions and things like that. But he's a gadget only guy. He's a guy that I'm seeing a lot of people speak about as a potential top 5 wide receiver in this class. Absolutely not there. No. I mean, for us, he's a gadget guy that you're taking on day 3.
Nice. Lots of players to look out there for. You nearly did it, guys. Very close. Very nearly matched up.
We'll do it.
I think we had 5 players, but 3 through 7.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah,
it's as close as I think it's ever been.
That's good. We like a little bit of discussion, don't we? Bit of disagreement. But yeah, before we finish, remind the listeners, watchers of your top 5s, please, guys.
Yeah, so 5 was Texas A&M, KC Concepcion. 4 was Denzel Boston from Washington. 3, Jordyn Tyson, Arizona State. 2, Makai Lemon from USC. And 1 was Carnell Tate from Ohio State.
I was almost the same, and I only had Carnell Tate and Makai Lemon flipped around. The rest was the same.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much, guys, and thank you very much for listening and or watching. We'll be back soon. Check out our previous. We've got our top 5. We did a mock last week. That was very exciting. Yeah, we'll be back. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Thanks for listening.